So I was marking the frames onto this batten. So this spiling batten was laid onto the frames of the boat below the plank above, the plank that I'm going to be fitting to. And I made an end mark that represents the angle and position of the stem. And then I've marked every station frame, so every 3 feet there's a station frame, and I've marked the position on this batten of each of those frames. On this table here, I have written down the width of each plank, the width of the plank at each of those stations. And so what I can do now is I can mark the stations onto my plank, and I can mark the width of the plank at each of those stations. When I've done that, then I'll spring a batten through all those points, and that'll give me the fair curve that I can cut to. Yeah, you're going to have to hold a minute because I've got to just realised that I've got to do a load of reductions on this because it's a narrow plank. Now that I've taken the positions of each frame along the length of the boat, I'm now taking the bevel angle between the frame and the plank at each of those stations. This little bevel shows me the angle, and that changes as it moves along the boat. So this is station 9. So at station 9, I've got that angle. This is a piece of wood that's the same thickness as the plank, and I'm marking the angle across the width of the plank, across the width of this strip. I'll do that at station 10 as well. Station 11. So then what I do is I get a square and mark across from the point at which the angle starts, square across on each of these station bevel marks. And what that does is, because this strip is the same width as the plank, this distance here represents the amount of offset from the marks, from the width of the plank that I need to make in order to have the extra wood to make the bevel come to the actual thickness. This has been squared across, so we know that over the width of this stick, which is the width of the plank, the amount of wood that we need to add to achieve this bevel is this amount. Okay, and we've done that for each of the stations. So when I mark the plank width onto the planking stock, I need to then add this amount at each of those stations as well, so that when I cut the bevel, I end up back where I started at the plank width that I require. So I've got my bevel stick here, and I'm using that information that I just described to make the additions. So I'm laying this on the plank. So I've got my plank width as I've taken off the table there, and I need to then make my addition. So this extra wood is what will be removed when I make this bevel angle here. So that mark is made on, and when I spring my battens, I spring my batten to this the mark that has the addition on it. Have you finished with the skill saw then? I tell you.
No, I've got to do this last cut discrepancy. You know what I mean? So, to get the position of the top of that one.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, we can't. We won't be able to pair these lower ones anyway.
No, I'm trying to spile them to the same line. See what I mean? Because it looked thin at station 10, where it had been hogged out on that one.
Yeah.
I didn't want to then go thinner on this one because that one's thin and make a bigger gap.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So
yeah.
it sticked off the tuck.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it makes sense. So long as it hasn't like made this massively thin anywhere, which it doesn't.
No,
it doesn't look like it has.
made it more even.
Cool. Great. Good.